Have any of you guys had the feeling that the older you get, the faster time flies? It seems like the older I get, the faster time feels. I remember when I was in school, junior high, high school, even elementary school, and time felt so flippin' slow in those days. I remember when it was the Christmas season, and I was in sixth grade, seventh grade. The Christmas season felt like it was forever. It felt like Christmas was going to be, months away. Now it's like Christmas just passed. December came, boop, we're in Christmas, boop. Pretty soon it's going to be 2022. When the Christmas season comes, they change the music on the radio. Every station is playing Christmas music, Christmas carols. And you turn on the radio and they're playing Pink Floyd, hey you, standing by the phone, whatever. And then they're singing chestnuts burning by the open fire. And then before you know it, they're back to, bring them to the other side. Like, it just goes right back to the typical music. And they're playing The Doors one moment, and then the next moment they're playing some Frank Sinatra Christmas music, and then the next moment they're back to Jim Morrison Psycho music. Time feels like it is flying so fast, and it feels like every year it gets faster and faster. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that when you're in school, time feels like it's forever. So when you were in public school or private education, you woke up at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, you got to school. School started at 9 a.m., 8:30 in the morning or whatever. And then you got out at 2:35. Well, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 2:35 really doesn't feel that long. Now, it doesn't really feel that long. But in those days, it felt like it was forever. When you were stuck in school, stuck in a classroom, listening to garbage for hours, just stuff that you're never going to use in real life, time feels like it's forever. Okay, it's like the Sandlot movie, forever. But now I experience 8 a.m. to 2:30. It's like, well, that flew by pretty fast. I remember when I was a junior and a senior, I had to take the school bus to school, because the school that I went to was quite a distance away from where I lived. And the school bus ride from home to school wasn't really that long. It was maybe like a 30-minute ride or so, because my house was one of the last stops. So didn't really feel that long, because you get on the bus, you picked up 2 or 3 more people, and then you were off. And then in 30 minutes or so, you were in school. But the bus ride back, because I was one of the last stops on the way back, it took over an hour. So you get off of school at 2:35, you get on the bus, and then you had to go through all the stops, every single stop, because your house was one of the last stops. So by the time that I got home, it was like 4:30, sometimes even 5 p.m. And then during the winter season, by the time I got home, the sun was going down. So it's like you just spent your entire day going through the school system. But then you had to do your homework. So, okay, the sun's down or the sun's going down. Now I got to do some bullcrap homework that I hate doing. And I was a complete slacker in school. I just did basically what I had to do just to get by. That was my philosophy. Like if I could just get the lowest grade that still passes me, I am home run. I'm happy with that. That was the kind of student I was. But time feels like it's just zooming right through. Man, it felt like just a year ago we had COVID, the whole COVID outbreak. But no, the COVID outbreak was almost 2 years ago. I can't freaking believe it. We're about to hit 2022. It's hilarious. It is hilarious. Like, everything is zipping by. And then I was thinking about this last night. Like, oh my gosh. Every single year, somebody graduates from high school. Every year, a whole generation of kids graduate from high school. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. I am getting old. I saw this meme online. It was something like the time between, what was it, 1979 and 2001 is the same as 2000 to 2020 or 2001 to 2021, something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so old. I feel so old. It's insane. It's insane. And when you have like young people at the grocery store calling you sir, oh my gosh. It's insane. It really is crazy. But yeah, time is going by so fast. But it's cool though. It's cool to know that you're getting old. I think that's like, it's kind of scary because like, okay, you're getting old. But at the same time, it's kind of cool because it's like, wow. Like that whole, all those teenage years that feel like not that long ago, they're over. Like, you're an adult now. That's it. And it's a really, it's a humbling feeling to have. It's a humbling feeling. It's a cool feeling, actually. It is a cool feeling to have but it's surreal at the same time, where you'll talk to people who are a lot younger than you and you'll say, hey, have you seen the film Braveheart? And they haven't even heard of the movie. Like, they have never even heard of Braveheart. It's insane. Like, Braveheart's one of the greatest masterpieces of cinema. And you have people who've never even seen the damn movie. And I remember I had some cousins come over, and they're all Zoomers. And I asked them if they had ever seen the film Saving Private Ryan. They had not even heard of the film Saving Private Ryan. They didn't even hear about it. They didn't even know about this movie. I'm like, you guys are watching Saving Private Ryan. This is insane. This is insane. I had them watch it. And during the freaking Normandy beach scene, one of them starts texting. I'm like, no. You're putting that damn phone down. All right, you can text all day, just not right now. You're watching this damn movie. It's insane. Like, they haven't even heard of Rush Hour 2, Saving Private Ryan. They didn't even hear about, my goodness, just real masterpieces of film. Forrest Gump. Like, they haven't even heard of any of these movies. It was crazy. But yeah, like, it's a surreal feeling to know that you're now old. It's surreal. It is a surreal feeling. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm kind of lost for words here. But every year, a whole generation graduates from high school. And now they're going to college, and it's like, wait, I'm not young anymore. Like, for a while, I always felt pretty young. Like, when I was in my late 20s, and I was like, wow, yeah, I'm still young. But then you meet Zoomers, and you're like, wait a second. Nope, I'm old. Or I'm getting old. I'm hitting that transition. And then I hit the big 3-0. And that was a surreal experience. Like, you're not 20. You can't say you're in your 20s anymore. You're now 3-0. And then I became 31 not too long after that. It felt like the time that between me being 30 and me turning 31, it felt like a few months. Honestly, it felt like it was I just went through some months, and now I'm 31. You're 31, and pretty soon I'm going to be 32. It's hilarious. Well, hilarious in a existentialist way, like, I'm getting old. Nervous laughter. But yeah. It's crazy, like, when Resident Evil 4 came out, one of the greatest video games ever made, Resident Evil 4 came out. Man, I look back and I was like, wow. I remember playing that game when it first came out. And loving that video game. And I'm thinking, man, I wonder if kids who play video games now, have they even played this game? Have they even freaking played it? Because what felt interesting to me, or kind of crazy to me, was when The Matrix 4 came out. Like, The Matrix 4 just recently came out, and it was okay, but I wasn't really that impressed by it. Nowhere near as good of directing as you had in the first 3 Matrix films. But I remember seeing the first Matrix back in the late 90s. and then seeing Matrix Reloaded in theater, and then seeing Matrix Revolutions in theater also. And then years and years and years and years later, 2021, the new Matrix comes out. And I'm thinking, you have an entire generation of people who just heard about the Matrix. Like, they're all used to John Wick. To them, they associate, like, with me, I've always associated Keanu Reeves with the Matrix. Like, that was always my thing. Like, Keanu Reeves, the Matrix. When I see John Wick, I'm like, that's Neo. That's Neo. He just got re-uploaded. The war is over. There was a peace treaty between humans and machines, and he just got re-uploaded back into the Matrix, and now he's an assassin because he's got nothing better to do. So when I see John Wick, I'm like, I'll always associate Keanu Reeves with the Matrix. And now you have a whole bunch of people, Zoomers and people younger than Zoomers, they've all seen John Wick. All right, I'm pretty sure it's 10-year-olds have watched John Wick. Okay, because parents don't give a damn. Like, oh yeah, John Wick, who cares? Let them watch it. Like, when I was 5 years old, I watched Braveheart. When I was what was it, 8 or 9 years old, I saw Saving Private Ryan in the theater. So I'm pretty sure there are 10-year-olds who have seen John Wick. So they always associate Keanu Reeves with John Wick. Now they see Keanu Reeves playing in this new movie called The Matrix Resurrections or whatever, and they're like, well, what's this? And now you have people going back and watching all the first 3 Matrix films because they never even seen the Matrix movies. I'm like, man, when I was in junior high, everybody saw the Matrix. Everyone, at least that I knew, they saw the Matrix. Yeah. But I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan in theater. I'm pretty certain. I remember seeing Braveheart back in the 90s. I remember seeing Forrest Gump. I remember seeing all these films. Schindler's List, Black Hawk Down. I remember seeing all these movies. And I'm like, man, that was so long ago. But the thing is that when you watch these movies, they look so much better than most films that come out today. Or maybe like more so than any of the films that come out now. Because I watch movies that come out today and I'm just like even The Matrix 4. I remember I saw The Matrix 4 and I'm like, man, the cinematography and the production and just the camera work is so inferior to what was seen in the first 3 Matrix films. It was crazy. I remember seeing Matrix 4. I'm like, man, the camera quality is inferior to the first 3 Matrix films. Even when you watch the first Matrix, when you watch the very first Matrix movie, when there is this time that the directors spent in getting the audience used to the characters. Like, part of a good movie is that you love the characters, right? Braveheart, you love Steven and Amish, and you love William Wallace, and you kind of even have a fascination with, what's his face, with Edward the Longshanks, and he's a brutal dictator, but, he's got some personality to him. Like, all these movies did a really good job in pulling you into these characters, and the way they did that was through good acting and good directing. So when you watch the first Matrix film, there's that scene when Thomas Anderson, he's not Neo yet, Thomas Anderson is behind his desk and he gets a package in the mail and it's a cell phone, and Morpheus talks to him, and Morpheus is telling him where to go and how to get out of the building because the agents are coming after him. And all of these scenes, there's a beautiful scene when he sees the White Rabbit tattoo and then he goes to the nightclub and then that crazy Rob Zombie music is playing. I love that scene. Even as a little kid. I was like, that music, there was something about it. Of course, I would never go to a club like that, but that music does slap, as they say. And there's Trinity, Carrie-Anne Moss, who looks amazing, actually. And she sees Thomas Anderson, and she's like, yeah, I'm Trinity. And Thomas Anderson is like, whoa, you hacked the IRS. You hacked the IRS. Oh, my God, it's you. And she's like, yeah, I know why you sit at your computer, you sit at your bed, you sit at your desk all day. It's because you're wondering what is the Matrix. You're wondering, you're having all these questions about the essence of existence, all this existentialism stuff. And then there's the scene where they drive Thomas Anderson to the building and he meets Morpheus for the first time. And Morpheus has this long scene where he's explaining the Matrix, how it's everywhere you go, it's there. And then you look at The Matrix Reloaded, and there's that scene where with the Merovingian, and the Merovingian is going off into this long spiel about self-determination and choice and free will, and what does it all mean, and how there's no such thing as choice. Choice is simply an illusion between those who have power and those who don't, something like that. But these are long scenes. They're prolonged scenes, and these scenes are elongated. They're lengthy because they're there to get you to like the characters, or to at least have your brain settle on the characters. It's character development that you're witnessing. And there's this scene in the first Matrix film when Thomas Anderson is now on the Nebuchadnezzar ship, and he's now in Zion. Like, not in Zion, but he's in the tunnel leading up to Zion. Like, he's in the real world, right? And it's his first day on the Nebuchadnezzar, and he sees Trinity, right? He sees the Carrie-Anne Moss's character for the first time in reality. And she looks at him, and it's kind of like she has these big round eyes, and this scene lasts for a few seconds, and it's like just these little shots that are elongated just a little bit. Like, all these little scenes are there to sort of imprint these images in your brain to get used to the characters. It's really fascinating how it works. I didn't see that in Matrix 4. I just saw a bunch of really fast-paced scenes. All of a sudden, the Merovingian pops up. He talks for like 45 seconds total, disappears. You have no idea what happened to him. It's like, it's crazy. Like, this is not good directing, but what do you expect, right? I mean, the directors went down to the freak show, if you know what I mean, and they made an inferior film, a mediocre movie. But it's like, man, if they were to make Braveheart 2 or something, I can guarantee you Braveheart 2 would not be as good as Braveheart 1. It's just my hunch. Just considering how people direct films now. And don't get me wrong, there are some well-directed films that have come out recently, especially in 2017. There were some really good horror films that came out in 2017. But for the most part, it's like, man, directing has just, and with COVID, things have become worse because production studios are not as willing to fund high-budget movies, and they're not as willing to invest money into more creative ideas because they're not sure if it's gonna be a good investment. But yeah, man, time flies fast. I remember 2017 was one of the best years I've ever experienced. Seriously, 2017, one of the best years I've ever experienced. My garden was perfect. We had a beautiful winter wonderland during the winter season. I remember my fig tree produced beautifully, and I was very creative. I was writing all these articles about the rise of nationalism and how Germany is going to come back, and I was spending so much time on that. It was really fun. It was a lot of intellectual stimulation was taking place. But think about, like, 2017. That was years ago. 2015, I remember 2015, 2014, 2013, these years, people were so hyped up in the culture wars. People were fighting against Sodom with much more enthusiasm. It was amazing. It really was amazing. Now, you rarely ever hear about it. Even the abortion thing. This is what I found so crazy. Even the abortion thing. For decades, pro-lifers have been talking about, making legislation to effectively ban abortion, or to get rid of it, to almost get rid of it, right? Effectively speaking. And I remember back in the 90s, there was this guy at my church who was a pro-life activist. He was, an older guy, but he was a pro-life activist. And every year we would get together and write letters to we would not write letters. He would write the letters, and then we would put the letters in envelopes, and we would give them out. He would give them out to as many people as possible, but we would help him put them in envelopes. And he was like fighting the good fight. This is before the internet, before emails and Facebook and all that stuff. So this guy would get all these letters, and he would send them out to as many people as possible, trying to convince people of the evils of abortion. He had this video that was so graphic. I remember this was back in the 90s. My dad was like, "You don't want to see this video." I'm like, "Oh, no, I want to see it." "No, you don't want to see it." No, I want to see it." "Okay, fine, watch it." And it was literally, this video was showing abortions. And even at that age, I had no idea what an abortion was. No one ever told me what an abortion was. I did not know what an abortion was. I never heard about it. What's an abortion? What's an abortion? "Oh, you want to know what abortion is? Okay, watch this video." "Are you sure you don't?" I recommend that you don't watch this because it's very violent, very graphic. No, Dad, I want to watch it." "Okay, here you go." And I saw abortions. This was back in the 90s. And it was, to this day, those images are in my mind. And I get like, oh my gosh, I get almost like goosebumps thinking about it. The graphicness, just the sheer brutality that was shown in this video was, if you're not pro-life after watching this, then there's something wrong with you. Like you would see these little babies dead, and it was horrific. And I remember weeping as a child. It was like maybe, how old was I? Maybe 5 or 6 years old at that time. But this guy, he would send this video out. He would try to spread it out as much as possible, have as many people as possible see this video, and he would send out letters, and we were all talking about fighting abortion, right? It was like the biggest thing ever. That and, family values. And man, for decades we have been talking about pushing legislation to get rid of abortion, blah 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 blah. And now, for the first time, we have some serious shifts in the United States as far as legislation goes, in which we have a majority conservative Supreme Court, and we have 2 states, Texas and Louisiana, passing legislation against abortion, specifically Texas, because with Texas, it really does effectively get rid of abortion if it's actually enacted to its totality. And it's almost like not a lot of people care. I mean, really, it's like, what the hell happened? I don't see a whole lot of people giving a crap about this issue. I mean, there are pro-lifers who care, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near as big. Like, if this were to happen, I want to say if this were to happen either before COVID or especially in like those 3 years, 13, 14, 15, those years, it would have been a way more explosive story, this event. This legislation passed in Texas, it would have been a way bigger story. But I don't really feel it. I used to feel the energy. Like, even my dogs are barking. Even when, for example, like gay marriage was constitutionalized in 2015, I felt the energy of the tension. Especially online. Like, it was intense. I remember really feeling it. And then you had like, what was her name? Kim Davis, and she refused to give out marriage licenses. Like, there was this huge battle. Franklin Graham got involved. It was crazy. But now it's like, everyone's talking about the vaccine and COVID. That's the big thing. And in a way, it's understandable, but it's still like, conservatives don't give a damn about COVID. Conservatives have been the ones this entire time since early 2020 acting like they don't give a damn about COVID. So it's like, okay, let's focus on this whole pro-life thing. But I'm not really seeing it. I'm really not seeing it. Help me out here. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's almost like I feel this shift in the trend that is not as interested in the social issues that were huge, explosive headlines 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago and before that. I'm just not feeling it, But time goes by so fast, and man, like, yeah, I just noticed the changes, man. I noticed the changes, but it's not like there are big changes. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like any of these things really surprise us. That's another thing that I want to point out, because I remember when I was in high school, they had the Sodom activism going on. That was all there. They had it in the school system, albeit probably not as big as it is now, but it was there. It was growing. The pro-abortion stuff was there. I mean, me growing up in California, let me tell you, pretty much everyone I knew was pro-choice and pro-Sodom. I didn't really get along with a lot of students and teachers because of this. Yeah, memories. So none of this really should surprise us. What we are seeing now is simply the spawn of my generation. And ultimately the boomer generation as well, because the boomer generation gave birth to my generation. And then you look at the Zoomers, and it's even worse amongst the Zoomers. Well, and that's simply an inevitable conclusion as to what has been going on within recent decades. So none of this really should surprise us, but I thought that I would do an existential video, because I love doing these types of videos, on the subject of time, just moving very fast. There's that scene in The Matrix where Morpheus says that time is our biggest enemy. It's not really the enemy. Time is just there. It's just the measurement by which we determine the distance between events. Sometimes it's milliseconds, seconds, hours, half hours, whatever. Time is just there. It's something that exists. But time is truly, truly moving extremely fast. Yeah. And I remember, like, man, I remember growing up listening to Nickelback and Creed. Well, not so much Creed, but Nickelback and Linkin Park, and a lot of techno music. Evanescence was awesome. I still listen to them. Um, a lot of techno music. ATC, A Touch of Class. And then you had like Blue, that song, I'm Blue. You know, everyone's heard of that song. I loved all these songs. And now it's like I tell people, hey, I love Nickelback. People are like, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? What's wrong with you? I'm like, man, I thought everybody loved Nickelback. Like, well, not everybody, but I thought a lot of people liked Nickelback because he was so popular back in the day. But I guess I was wrong. So, but I still listen to Nickelback. I still listen to all that stuff. It's great music. But people will, I don't know. It's like, I understand if you have a difference in taste of music, like we all have differences in taste, and that's great. Like we have a diversity in taste. But I never understood like why people react almost with this visceral hatred to you if you like a certain genre of music from the early 2000s. Like people will think that's cringe, and it's like there are people who were young in the 1970s who still listen to 1970s music. We don't give them shit over it. So I don't see why. I don't see how somebody listening to Nickelback all of a sudden warrants like this weird, vicious emotional response. But anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Time is going by super fast. We're about to hit 2022. It's crazy to think, because I was thinking about this today. I'm like, oh my gosh, the beginning of the COVID outbreak was almost 2 years ago. What the hell? Feels like it was just months ago that I was arguing with people about COVID, and I was doing videos about conservatives saying ridiculous stuff about the COVID outbreak. And now it's like that was so 2 years ago. Like what the hell? It's surreal. It really is surreal, guys. Anyway, you guys just heard some theologic. God bless.